I found out my fiancé of 3 years regularly deleted conversations and text messages. I never thought I'd find myself in this situation, especially so close to our wedding. My fiancé and I have been together for 3 wonderful years, and we're set to tie the knot in just 2 months. But now, everything feels so fragile, like a house of cards that could collapse with a single breath. It all started a couple of days ago with a massive argument that almost tore us apart. It was one of those fights where words are thrown like daggers, each one finding its mark and leaving a wound. We talked it out afterward, and I thought things were better, or at least on the mend. But here I am, still reeling, still anxious, and still questioning everything. I was using his phone. I know, I shouldn't have, but we've always been pretty open with each other about our devices. We share everything, or at least I thought we did. Anyway, I was on his WhatsApp when I noticed an archive chat. My curiosity got the better of me, and I clicked on it. There it was, a single chat from a guy at his job, a guy we've argued about twice before. This guy works in a different department, and my fiancé's ranks higher. There's really no reason for them to be texting each other, or at least that's what I thought. The chat only had 2 messages from the previous day, everything else was gone, wiped clean. My heart pounded in my chest as I stared at the screen. I felt sick. Why would he delete their conversations? What was he hiding? I confronted him right then and there, the words spilling out of me in a rush of anger and hurt. We had a huge blowout. I accused him of being suspicious, of hiding things from me. He defended himself, saying he had done nothing wrong. He said if I had seen anything inappropriate, he would understand my reaction. He claimed the messages were archived accidentally and questioned why I was even using his phone. He turned it around on me, saying that all of this was because I was insecure. He explained that the guy was just a friend from work and that they talked because they're in a work group together. He said there was nothing to be concerned about and that I was blowing things out of proportion. But the thing that stuck with me, the thing I couldn't shake, was when he admitted that he regularly deletes his messages. I asked him why. Why would he need to delete conversations if he had nothing to hide? His response was simple, because he wants to. He said it was just something he does, no big deal. But it felt like a big deal to me. It felt like a huge deal. I tried to let it go, but the nagging feeling in the pit of my stomach wouldn't go away. Is it normal for people in a relationship to delete their messages, or is this a red flag waving right in my face? I love him so much, and we're about to start our lives together. We're about to buy a house, for crying out loud. I need to know if this is something I should be worried about. In the days following our argument, I tried to act normal. I went to work, hung out with friends, and kept up appearances. But every time I looked at him, I felt a pang of doubt. Was he hiding something from me? Was he cheating? Or was I really just being paranoid? I decided to do some research. I read articles, browsed forums, and even talked to a few friends about it. I needed an objective perspective, something to help me make sense of all this. Some people said it was normal to delete messages, that it was just a way to keep things tidy. Others said it was definitely suspicious, that he was probably hiding something. I found myself spiraling, reading way too much into every little thing. I'd catch myself watching him out of the corner of my eye, trying to read his expressions, trying to gauge if he was being truthful. It was exhausting. One night, after he had gone to bed, I sat in the living room with my thoughts. The house was quiet, save for the ticking of the clock on the wall. I thought about our relationship, about the 3 years we had spent together. We've had our ups and downs, like any couple, but we've always managed to work things out. We've always come out stronger on the other side. But this felt different. This felt like a test of trust, and I wasn't sure if we were passing. I thought about the guy at his job, the one he had argued about. I thought about the deleted messages and the fact that he had lied about them being friends. It all felt too much, too heavy. I knew I needed to talk to him again, to get everything out in the open, but I was scared. Scared of what I might find out, scared of what it might mean for our future. I took a deep breath and went to our bedroom. He was lying there, his back to me, breathing softly. I climbed into bed and wrapped my arms around him. He stirred, turning to face me. "We need to talk," I said softly. He looked at me, his eyes filled with concern. What's wrong? I took another deep breath, steeling myself for what I was about to say. I can't stop thinking about the deleted messages. He sighed, running a hand through his hair. I told you, it's nothing. I just delete them because I want to. But why? I pressed. Why do you feel the need to delete them? He was silent for a moment, his expression unreadable. I don't know. It's just a habit, I guess. I shook my head, feeling the frustration bubbling up again. That's not a good enough reason. If there's nothing to hide, then why delete them? He looked at me, his eyes softening. I get it, okay, I understand why you're upset. But I promise you, there's nothing going on. I love you, and I would never do anything to hurt you. I wanted to believe him. God, I wanted to believe him so badly. But there was still that nagging doubt, that little voice in the back of my head telling me something wasn't right. I need you to be honest with me, I said, my voice trembling. If there's something going on, if there's something you're not telling me, I need to know. We're about to get married. We're about to buy a house together. I can't go into this with doubts. He reached out, taking my hand in his. I swear, there's nothing going on. I love you, and I want to spend the rest of my life with you. I looked into his eyes, searching for any sign of deception. But all I saw was sincerity. I wanted to believe him. I wanted to put this behind us and move forward. I believe you, I said finally, but you need to understand why this bothers me. You need to understand why I'm upset. He nodded, squeezing my hand. I do. And I'm sorry. I'll try to be more mindful of it. I don't want to lose you over something like this. I felt a weight lift off my shoulders, the tension easing slightly. Okay, I said softly, let's try to move past this. We talked for a while longer, hashing out our feelings and trying to find a way forward. It wasn't easy, but it felt like we were making progress. I still had my doubts, but I was willing to work on it. I was willing to give him the benefit of the doubt and try to rebuild the trust that had been shaken. In the days and weeks that followed, things slowly started to get better. We made an effort to be more open with each other, to communicate more. It wasn't perfect, but it was a start. I still had moments of doubt, but I tried to push them aside, focusing on the love we shared and the future we were building together. As our wedding day approached, I found myself feeling more hopeful. We had been through a rough patch, but we had come out the other side stronger. I still had my moments of doubt, but I was learning to trust again. I was learning to let go of the fear and focus on the love we shared. The day of our wedding dawned bright and clear, a perfect day for a new beginning. As I stood at the altar, looking into his eyes, I felt a sense of peace. We had been through a lot, but we had made it. We were stronger for it. As we exchanged our vows, promising to love and cherish each other for the rest of our lives, I felt a surge of hope. We had been tested, but we had come through it together. And that, more than anything, gave me confidence in our future. We were ready to start this new chapter together, with a love that had been tested and proven strong. Our wedding was a beautiful affair. Friends and family gathered to celebrate our love, and as we danced our first dance, I felt an overwhelming sense of joy. The doubts that had plagued me melted away in the warmth of his embrace. We were finally starting our life together as husband and wife, and it felt perfect. We bought our house, a cozy little place with a garden out back. We spent weekends decorating and making it our own. Every little project we took on together made me feel closer to him, more certain that we were building something lasting and real. I loved waking up next to him every morning, sharing coffee and planning our days. It felt like everything was falling into place. But life has a way of testing you when you least expect it. One evening, a few months after our wedding, I came home from work to find him sitting on the couch, looking troubled. He had his phone in his hand, and he looked up at me with a mixture of guilt and fear. "We need to talk," he said, his voice barely above a whisper. My heart sank. Those words had become too familiar, too loaded with the weight of our past arguments. I sat down next to him, bracing myself for whatever was coming. "I need to tell you something," he began. "Something I should have told you a long time ago." I could feel the tension in the air, the anticipation of what he was about to say. I reached out and took his hand, trying to steady myself. "I've been keeping something from you," he continued. "It's about the messages. I didn't delete them because of a habit or to keep things tidy. I deleted them because I was scared that you would find out about my past." I stared at him, my mind racing. What was he talking about? What past? He took a deep breath and began to explain. Years before we met, he had been in a relationship with a woman who was emotionally abusive. She had manipulated him, made him feel worthless, and in the end, she had cheated on him. It had shattered him, left him with deep scars that he had tried to hide. "When we got together, I wanted to be the best version of myself for you," he said, his voice breaking. "I didn't want my past to ruin what we had. So I started deleting messages, hiding anything that might make you doubt me. It was stupid, and I'm so sorry." I felt a rush of emotions: relief, anger, sadness. I understood his fear, but it still hurt that he had kept this from me. We had promised to be open and honest with each other, and he had broken that promise. "I wish you had told me," I said, tears welling up in my eyes. "I wish you had trusted me enough to share this with me." He pulled me into his arms, holding me tightly. "I know. I was wrong. But I'm telling you now because I don't want any more secrets between us. I love you, and I want to move forward together, with no more lies." We sat there, holding each other, letting the weight of his confession sink in. It was a lot to process, but it also felt like a turning point. He had finally opened up to me, laid bare his vulnerabilities. And in that moment, I realized that our love was strong enough to handle it. In the days that followed, we talked more than ever. He shared stories about his past, and I listened, offering support and understanding. It wasn't easy, but it felt like we were truly building something unbreakable. We were learning to trust each other in a deeper, more meaningful way. Life continued, with its ups and downs, but we faced it all together. We celebrated our first anniversary with a trip to the mountains, hiking and laughing, feeling more connected than ever. Every day, we worked on our relationship, nurturing it, ensuring that it remained strong and resilient. We decided to start a family, and when I found out I was pregnant, the joy we felt was indescribable. It was another chapter in our story, another testament to the love that had grown and flourished despite the challenges we had faced. Our son was born on a rainy night, and as I held him in my arms for the first time, I looked over at my husband, tears in his eyes. We had come so far, and now we were a family. As our son grew, we taught him about love, trust, and honesty. We wanted him to know that relationships take work, that they are built on a foundation of openness and understanding. We shared our story with him when he was old enough to understand, hoping that he would learn from our experiences and carry those lessons into his own relationships. Years passed, and our love continued to grow. We faced new challenges, but we faced them together, always leaning on each other for support. We celebrated our milestones, from birthdays to anniversaries, always grateful for the journey we had taken together. Looking back, I realized that our relationship was never perfect. We had our flaws, our moments of doubt and fear. But those imperfections made our love real, made it something worth fighting for. We had been tested, but we had come through it all, stronger and more committed than ever. As we grow old together, I often think about those early days, about the arguments and the doubts. They were painful, but they were also the crucible in which our love was forged. We had been through fire, and we had come out the other side, tempered and unbreakable. I am grateful for every moment, for every challenge we faced. They taught us to trust, to communicate, and to love more deeply, and in the end, that is what matters most. Our love is not perfect, but it is ours, and it is strong, and that is enough.